My name's Taylor Combs. I'm a pastor at King's Cross Church here in East Nashville, which we planted in 2022. So I've been pastoring now just a little over 4 years. My first reaction to the thought of our church, King's Cross, coming together with Valley View was a little triggering to me because we had spent about a year trying to merge with another congregation. We were familiar with Valley View. I knew Matt a little bit. We'd gotten together over lunch at Satco one time a few years ago and said, hey, could we come and rent space from you to worship on Sundays? They were predisposed to like us and welcome us because of their VBS experience with us, but also I think just because they were godly and gracious people. And over the course of a few months, we were continually impressed with and moved by the generosity and the grace and the kindness and the hospitality of the members of Valley View. And so we reached out and said, hey, one, do you want to worship together on Easter? And two, just so you know, we said we didn't want to do this, but if you guys have any desire to talk about it, I think we're ready to talk about it. And they basically said, hey, we've been waiting on you to ask. And things happened pretty quickly from there.
My wife Shirley and I joined the church, I want to say approximately 13, 14 years ago. It's been almost 2 years now that we have been struggling. Here's where God's providence comes into play. We were blessed with a really amazing interim pastor who was able to help us identify problems. And, we were hurting at the time, and he helped us get back on track, so to speak. That was Matt Wilson.
When I came to Valley View at the beginning of my interim for 2 years, they were in a place of hurt and numbers had really gone down. And I felt like my role was to help the church heal and prepare them for the next step. Bob Bickford reached out from the Nashville Baptist at some point, and he was so gracious to come alongside and lead the church through a futuring process. In that process, culminated in kind of 3 options and ended up choosing adoption with Grace Baptist.
One of the questions that Bob Bickford asked is, what was my thought for the future? And my thought for the future was, in the 5-year plan, I wanted it to not look like anything that I knew. King's Cross coming in with the decision of, the Nashville Baptist Association to try to put us together, what I told my wife was, listen to the worship. I said, it's not worship anymore, where you got, 20 or so old people. It's like when they get ready to worship, you hear all kinds of, it's the sounds of life. There's babies crying, there's little kids coughing, there's little kids with hiccups, all that stuff, that goes with a great, a living church. And I see the young people, and what they do and how they take care of their kids, I think that it's going to be a rebirth in what God does. And I'm happy to see that because it's not been 5 years and it's already different from what I thought.
Just because a church is declining and dying numerically doesn't mean that its remaining members are declining and dying spiritually. And we've been so impressed by the spiritual maturity and godliness of the remaining members of Valley View that have been life-giving to us. And then one of the leaders from Valley View said, moved to tears, quoted scripture that talks about, Paul is talking about the resurrection.
The words of Jesus came to mind where he said, unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, it can't bear fruit. So, in a sense, Valley View is the seed that died in this place, and you've seen the fruit. I think it's certainly bright here. There are so many younger people from the neighborhood and even, from the surrounding areas in the city who are coming here to worship. They're meeting all the challenges as they come up. And I think the future here is very bright for the gospel in East Nashville.